Question here. For those of us in the West, which books do you advise us with to learn Arabic? And in which order? Barakallahu feekum. Bismillah. The first book that you learn in the Arabic language, to learn the Arabic language, for the Arabs generally is Al-Ajrumiyyah, which is an easy book. It's for primary school students. It's not difficult. It's like the skeleton of the language, the nahu, the grammar of the language. And it is systematic. But say somebody doesn't know Arabic at all, and needs to start from scratch, then alhamdulillah, the Medina program is one of the best to learn the Arabic language. The Islamic University of Medina, they have a program with 4 levels, and you can learn that systematically. Alhamdulillah, our brothers here and in Manchester, I'm sure there are classes in the Arabic language. Strive to learn Arabic language because it will aid you in understanding Quran. It will aid you in being better in your dhikr, in remembering Allah, in coming closer to Allah, to ponder over what you are saying. So use the Medina program. That is a good program, mashallah tabarakallah. And the examples are given from the Quran and Sunnah. The examples are given, ayat are mentioned, the hadith are mentioned. So it connects you to the narrations, which is good. And if you are able to pass the first book and the second book, you can go to Ajrumiyyah, because second book deals with inna and akhawatuha and kana wa akhawatuha. It deals with that. And then you can, from that level, you can go to Al-Ajrumiyyah, because you will be repeating some of the stuff that you have already learnt. First book is just definitions. Then you move on to the second book, Na'am, which is slightly a bit more difficult, but it's just another level with a bit more grammatical features that you'll find in Al-Ajrumiyyah anyway. And the third and fourth book, that's really the big step that you make in the Arabic language. So the key point is to go over these books. Go over them with a teacher. And Al-Ajrumiyyah is one of the best. You will suffice yourself with grammatical rules, and especially if you study it with a Tuhfa, which is the original sharh, if you like, the early explanation by Muhyiddin. Going through that book with the Tuhfa explanation, with the teacher, because it has questions and answers, questions at the end of every section. Going through that, that's one way you can study. And after you finish that, then Al-Mutammima. This is according to Shaykh Abdurrahman Al-Kuni, Hafidhullah, in Medina, a teacher of the Arabic language, who's a student of Shaykh Muhammad Amin Al-Shinqiti, rahimahullah. He has these levels that you follow. You start with Al-Ajrumiyyah, then Al-Mutammima. Now the difference between Mutammima, which is called Mutammima, completion of Ajrumiyyah, Mutammima has additions. It is like the skeleton of Al-Ajrumiyyah with a bit more. And also the istidlal, the proofs that you find in Mutammima of each grammatical feature is from the Quran, which is wonderful. Because it means that you're connected with the Quran, ayat, connected to understand some of the, to memorize some of the proofs. Once you finish Mutammima, then you could either go one or two ways. Either you go through studying Qatr al-Nada, which brings you the differences between the Basriyin and the Kufiyin. Some of the slight differences are mentioned in there, the khilafat. وَالْبَصَرِيُّونَ أَبْصَرُ. And or you can go over the Alfiyya, which is a bit harder, it's harder than Qatr al-Nada. Qatr al-Nada, I prefer it because in there you'll find lines of poetry which the scholars are using in their durus anyway. Lines of poetry for istidlal, as proof of certain points. Na'am, that the grammatical features that you can learn. So that way is, inshallah, a good way to go through. Now that is just grammar. Arabic language has about 12 arts. It's not just grammar, but also sarf and balagha and other than that. So this is just one aspect of the Arabic language, and it is an important aspect. Now there's one book I would not advise you go through, and that is Arabiyya Bayna Yadayk. I hate this program because of one thing, which as talib ilm, any talib ilm, I advise to go through a program which teaches you the endings of words. And this program does not do that. For a talib ilm, it is not advisable to go through this program. Why? Because first of all, the stories, lots of stories, newspaper cutouts and so on. It's not really ideal for talib ilm to go through. It's better for talib ilm to go through that which will get you connected to the Quran and the Sunnah. And not only that, that which will get you connected to speaking properly. Shaykh Ubaid used to say, لا ينبغي لطالب العلم أن يلحن في كلامه وقراءته. It's not befitting for the student of knowledge to have lahan in his reading and in his speech. So therefore, lahan will come if you don't know the endings of words. Where is it going? Is it the fa'il? Is it the maf'ulun bihi? You know that by the ends of words. Arabiya bayna yadik does not teach you that. Because it teaches you colloquial, it teaches you to stop at the word without actually mentioning the tanween. So, you won't say ja'a rajulun, you will say just ja'a rajul. And he doesn't tell you that, because you need to know, when you add the tanween, you know that's fa'il. Marfu, alamatu rafi'i dhamma. So you know that this one teaches you the part of it in speech. And so I don't like this. I taught book 1 in Slough. Alhamdulillah, the brothers in Slough, there was about 30 brothers. And then when we started book 2, I don't know, by the halfway of through book 2, there was about 3 brothers left. So it needs patience. But when I looked at Arabiya Bayna Yadik, I was like, no, this is not the one. For the Talib al-Ilm, you need to get connected to the narrations, the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. So I don't like this program, Arabiya Bayna Yadik. La, this Bayna Yadayhim Hum is not Bayna Yadayk Ant. Bayna Yadayhim Hum. Because there's their language, colloquial, which is sometimes dialects that you're learning, and it's not the actual lugha. So my advice is don't go through that. That's the advice that Sheikh Abdul Rahman Al-Kuni, our teacher, started with. And there's other books. Sheikh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, he said the first book that he used to teach is An-Nahu Al-Wadih, which is a good book with lots of examples, lots of amthila that you can go through, and it's nice as well for primary. It's a nice basic book that you can go through. And also there are some other books that Shaykh Abdul Rahman Al-Kuni taught in the Nahu, like Mulhatul I'rab. It's a bit harder. It's in poetry format. But you'll find the principles there, you'll find them in Al-Ajrumiyya anyway. You find them in Al-Ajrumiyya anyway. So Al-Ajrumiyya, I would advise you do it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Go over it until you get used to it, inshallah. And most important, have someone to listen to you when you're reading. Have someone to listen to you when you're reading. So go through the books of Shaykh Fawzan, the easiest to read, such as Durus min al-Quran, such as the Shuruhat. Fantastic books you can go through, and your tongue slowly gets used to the language. And his books you find are the easiest to read. Allahumma barik. Shaykh Salih bin Fawzan hafidhahullah. So that's the Allahu A'lam in a nutshell from what we can advise. Now,
just to add to that, and half of you will know why I have to add to that. For several years we've been teaching Arabic now. And for several years, brothers have been doing Medina Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, and going through those various different topics and learning and memorizing. 2 main things. One is, you're never going to learn Arabic unless you've got the long-term plan in mind. In the UK, the big difference, compared to learning it when you're abroad, is that you don't have it in your environment outside. You go to your class, you do your 1 hour of Arabic, you walk outside and all of the signs are in English, everybody's talking in English. So you don't have the environment. Whereas when you're in a Muslim country, you learn it in class, you walk outside, you go to the shop, you need to speak Arabic to get what you want. You need to be able to speak Arabic to get your taxi to where you want to go. So in this country, you need to understand it's going to be a long-term plan. You're not going to learn Arabic in 3 months in 1 summer crash course. It's not going to happen. So that's why when this was being mentioned now about book 2, they drop out. That is common. It is common because people don't have that long-term plan. That is going to take a year, 2 years. It took us 2 years in Saudi. The course that we do is 2 years in Saudi. And that is 25 hours a week. 25 hours a week, 5 lessons a day, 5 days a week for 2 years, 4 semesters to get you to the level of university. So what therefore of the UK? The reality is it's going to be at least double. 3, 4 years of hard work and you'll get to a level where your Arabic is now coming along. You need to have that mentality. You can't think to yourself, I'm going to start in summer, at the end of summer, inshallah, I'll be at the end of book 2, I'll be in the middle of book 3, I'll know what I'm doing. It takes a long time, so make a strong, firm, resolute mindset to study into the long run. The second thing as well is with the Medina course, you need to be aware it's not just Medina book 1, 2 and 3 which you have available in the bookshops everywhere now. That is only, as the brother mentioned, the Nahu aspect. The Medina course is actually something like 30 books. Medina book 1 that you see now has 3 other parts that go with it. Medina book 2 that you see now has 6 or 7 other parts that go with it. Medina book 3 is actually book 3 and book 4. They printed it all together into one volume. That is book 3 and then Medina book 4. Medina book 3 part has another 7 parts with it. Medina book 4 has another 6 parts with it. It is altogether 30 parts. And it's a mistake to go from Medina book 1 onto Medina book 2 onto Medina book 3. The course was never designed to be studied like that. You're supposed to do Medina book 1 and maybe try and do one of the side books at least. Because those supplementary books, they implement the grammar you've been taught in Medina book 1. When you go to Medina book 2, it has all of those side books. Pick a couple of them, 2 or 3 of those, and do those too. Because they will implement the grammar that is in Medina book 2. That's how you then build up to getting onto book 3. It's a mistake to go from 1, 2, 3. You could do that, you could memorize that. You would not be speaking Arabic. And you would not be understanding Arabic. Because the course was never designed to be taught like that. So be aware of those side books. They're printed now. You can get them all printed in a big volume, about £30 per volume, available in some of the bookshops. But you need to be aware, you need to do some of those side books too. In the long run, with the side books, the full course or as much as possible, until then you start realizing how you can understand and learn. But otherwise people get to book 2, end of it, and they say, I still can't understand properly, I still can't put sentences together, because you haven't done the practice and the comprehension that goes along with it. So just to quickly do 1 or 2 of these others, quick ones. A masjid.
Just before you continue, I said عربية بين يديهم. I meant بين أيديهم. نعم.
مشكلة. I have to correct that one in this question, huh?
جزاكم الله خيرا.